I did want to start today, Parker, with my sincere apologies that you are not going to be the offensive coordinator of the game for Akron. They announced the finalists yesterday, and I saw you weren't one of them. Can you reveal, were you the 10th finalist who turned it down?
I was on the outside looking in. We'll just put it that way. I was firmly on the bubble.
You turned it down? They were offering you like 5, 15, 10, 5.
I'm expecting better opportunities in the future.
Yeah. I was a little surprised that Big Cat, and I don't know if people know Bordeaux. He's a college football YouTuber. Both of them were listed in the finalists. I'm going to say I think it was rigged to make them finalists. I don't think they're going to be allowed to do it. I think that they wanted to have Big Cat and other people that the fans might know to get more people talking about this again. But they're not going to actually let them do it. I think they do want an actual Akron fan to be the one who does this. It wouldn't be quite as cool of a promotion if it just ended up being a Barstool podcast host who ends up calling the plays. It might get more eyes to it, but I think it kind of defeats the purpose of the entire promotion. It's to let a fan do it, not to let just somebody who lives in Chicago to come down and do a game.
It's totally rigged. I mean, more people in Akron know of Big Cat and Bordeaux than they know of me. So, of course, I'm not going to get it. It's rigged.
Yeah,
it's
right.
rigged.
I think it was rigged to let them be finalists, but I think they're going to make sure that it's an actual fan who gets to do it. So, I, again, apologize, Parker. I know that was a dream for you to be the Akron offensive coordinator.
Listen, I had my whole drive scripted already. And it was one play long because we're scoring on the first play. We were going to score on the first play.
If only Robert Morris was in the video game, we would have to let you go try it out and just see it. Like, put it on coach mode where you're not controlling the players and you just call whatever plays you wanted and see if it actually would have worked out. But anyway, let's talk some Titans here. Titans were out of practice yesterday. Corey and I broadcasting live, got to watch practice. And I would say the defense won the day again. Big Jeff Simmons is just an absolute menace. That's what Corey was calling him, the red menace out there on the field, because you see the sleeves, you see the undershirt peeking through his jersey, and every single play, it's just like, oh, who blew that one up? Oh, it was just Jeff again. And he was all over the field. Monday, all over the field. Yesterday, maybe doesn't bode well necessarily for your offensive line. There were a few reps where Schlottman and Carmona were just overmatched, which is to be expected. But I'd say that's been my big takeaway from practice the last 2 times out there, Monday and Wednesday. Big Jeff might be in for another big year because he is blowing plays up left and right.
I remember having this conversation with Connor because he was going up against Fernando Carmona and putting him on his butt almost every play. And Connor was asking me, is this more of a praise, a good thing for Jeffrey Simmons or a bad thing for Fernando Carmona? And I'm like, neither. Because if he's a 5th-round rookie, you expect Jeffrey Simmons, who we think is the best defensive tackle in the NFL, to do that consistently play in and play out. Fernando Carmona is going up against him every day and John Franklin-Myers, and that's only going to make him better.
Yeah, and Carmona did have some good reps yesterday. I did notice Fernando Carmona winning a few reps against Jeffrey Simmons, so that is good to see. But for the most part, Jeffrey Simmons has been the best player in practice, which is to be expected. He is the best player on the team. Another player I noticed a lot this week, Kevin Winston Jr. I think Kevin Winston has been a playmaker out there in the secondary. The best play I saw yesterday was from Kevin Winston. Cam Ward escaped the pocket, and it wasn't one of those plays in practice where it's like, yeah, he probably would have been sacked. This one was a real moved with the pocket, got outside, was rolling to his left, and had Chimdike open, made an accurate throw. Kevin Winston, the closing speed that he has is really impressive. He was running a little bit behind him, but was able to make up some time, lays out and got a fingertip on it to force the incompletion. He's also made a couple of big plays in the run game on run blitzes. I like what I'm seeing from Kevin Winston, especially this week in practice.
That's why I feel he's a foundational player for this team moving forward, or at least he will be. Some of his strengths, that makeup speed that you talk about, where if he gets burnt by the receiver, but that ball's in the air just a little bit too long, he has the ability to make up that speed and get a PBU. And then I really like his physicality. He's a very strong hitter, a lot of strength for someone his size, and that's been on full display. Didn't he also have a big hit on Alec Ailmaner yesterday too?
I'm trying to think.
I could be just making that up.
Well,
I
so
wasn't out there yesterday.
He had the big hit on Manor a few weeks ago.
Okay.
That was another great example of him kind of closing the gap. It was another one of those plays where Cam Ward made the right read and he made an accurate throw. This was a couple of weeks ago, the play where Alec Manor got banged up, where you see him beat the cornerback. And I want to say they were in like cover one man, maybe. Like, I don't know specifically, but that's what it looked like. And Manor beats his man off the line. Kevin Winston's playing center field. So it looks like it's a touchdown. And Kevin Winston just glides across the field and hits Manor at the perfect time to break up the ball. Like, that's been the most impressive thing I've seen from Kevin Winston, is even when it looks like a guy is open, he's just got that. We talked about Amani Hooker last year. It felt like he was a step late on a lot of plays. Like, he was almost making plays, but he was a step late. Kevin Winston is right on time with a lot of these plays. So I've been really impressed. Dustin from Hopkinsville also mentions another player who stood out yesterday, Anthony Hill. Anthony Hill had himself a day yesterday. Still running with the twos, but he had a play that would have been borderline, probably reviewed, whether it was incomplete or a forced fumble. Receiver came into his area, caught it, and he punched the ball out. He made a really nice play in the run game. Anthony Hill has been all over the field too. So that's good to see. Those are two young pieces on your defense that you really hope are going to take big steps forward this year, whether it's Winston in year 2, his first year healthy, Hill in his first year in the defense. Both those guys had big days yesterday, which was good to see.
That's what's even more impressive, because when you're having to play center field and there's only one high safety like you were talking about, usually it's a lot easier when, we talk about shell coverage a lot, having those two safeties. It's a lot easier because you have two safeties split in the field, but when it's just one and it doesn't really matter which side you throw to, and Kevin Winston has that makeup speed to go to either side that the ball's passed to, that's just really impressive.
Yeah.
So he's had a great camp. And then for Anthony Hill, he wasn't ready at the start, but it won't be too long before eventually he might crack the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think, as TD has said, the part of his game that's going to need to develop is the mental side, being able to know what everybody's job is and be the green dot guy at Mike.
Because he's 21 years old.
Right.
So that's a lot to balance for a 21-year-old.
He's young. He's still learning. But I think Anthony Hill, you see the physical tools for sure. Like, you see exactly why Robert Saleh and Mike Borgonzi thought he was a fit for this defense. I think the behind the scenes stuff of learning the defense, all that kind of stuff, is going to come with time. But in terms of the instincts and the physical ability, Anthony Hill's already there. 7410 asks, was Cam throwing the ball with accuracy yesterday? And we'll wrap up this segment with some thoughts on Cam. I thought Cam, Monday and Wednesday, I thought had two really solid practices. Now, not everything was perfect. I think early on yesterday, Cam struggled with some accuracy stuff on the first drive or two. But then drive number 2 and beyond, Cam Ward was putting the ball where it needed to be. I thought there was some really nice throws to he wasn't out there yesterday, to Wan'Dale Robinson. He hit Alec Manor a couple of times. He had a really nice throw where he put some touch on the ball yesterday, which I think is something that a lot of fans have been talking about, that he tries to zip everything in there like a fastball. He layered a ball perfectly over the outstretched hand of Cody Barton and hit Calvin Ridley yesterday, which I thought was a really good sign for Cam Ward of learning when to throw the changeup a little bit instead of always having to be the flamethrower. So I thought Cam yesterday was solid. He's had 3 good practices since San Francisco. A week ago, it was not good in that first preseason game, but he's been able to bounce back with 3 good practices. Tomorrow's a big day for Cam Ward. You're not going to see the first team defense, I would assume, for the Seahawks on Sunday in the preseason game. You will see them tomorrow. I am really excited to see what Cam Ward can do tomorrow, trying to bounce back from a tough week in San Francisco. Had 3 good practices this week against the Titans defense. Can he carry that over against a much stronger unit in Seattle tomorrow afternoon?
He's going to have to. And going back to the fastball thing, it's on those screens that we're talking about, like the one on the first drive against San Francisco, the one where he just missed the screen by about 5 yards. That's one of those, you got to get it out there quick, but it doesn't have to be 87 miles per hour. You just get it out there, right? And he's good about the arm slots and getting the ball out quick, but it doesn't have to be a piss missile.
Right. And I think yesterday that was one of the plays. It was a little screen pass on that first drive where it wasn't as bad as the first one to Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Like where last week in San Francisco where he just completely missed him, but you threw it to the wrong shoulder. And if he hit Robinson on his left shoulder, he would have been moving towards the line of scrimmage and had a chance to make a play. But by hitting him on his right shoulder, he had to turn backwards and didn't have his momentum heading in the right direction. Those are the little things that you think Cam Ward needs to be better at. But overall, to answer 7410's question, yes, I thought Cam had an accurate day throwing the football after that first drive, and it was nice to see him layer the ball over the linebacker's head and find Calvin Ridley. I thought that was one of his best throws of the day yesterday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Lots of Titans talk today. We will get to your phones. Coming up next, we will get into some roster math here. I went through and I wrote down all of the locks for the Titans. Who is a lock to make this roster and how many spots are still up for grabs? We'll talk about it coming up next. And again, we will get to your phone. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Talking Titans here on this Thursday. We're going to get into some roster math here. 53-man roster. We are just, 2 weeks away-ish, a little over 2 weeks away from finding out who made the Titans this year. And I went through and I picked out all of the locks. Who is going to make this team no matter what, and how many spots are remaining. We'll get into that in a second, but first let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll start with Dustin in Hopkinsville. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. So, like I said yesterday, I am skeptical, but I have been saying I'm not going to give a true judgment call till after game one on what this team actually is. That's not to say they can't develop into something great halfway through the season. But I do have to bring myself back a little bit and realize no one can replicate what Brian Callahan done to the floor that he set for this team. And Robert Saleh, one thing we know everywhere he goes, has a great defense. And you can't be great by not trying things and failing. You have to be willing to fail to succeed in life and every aspect of life. So I've been watching a little bit of Cordell Flott, okay? And one thing I've noticed with him, maybe they're trying in that game, they were trying a little bit of zone coverage. But something I do notice with him, he's taking the fast and violent and taking it to a next level on the line. I believe this is something that's fixable because he's been pretty sticky. One thing I've noticed too is he doesn't get his dang hands up enough and in the face of the receiver, in my opinion. I think that'll help his game a lot. But like I teach my kids, I'll never get on to you for playing a little too aggressive, like with soccer. You should get a yellow card every now and then if you're playing aggressive enough, but I will be all over you for playing too soft. Right now, he's playing at the line a little too aggressive, in my opinion, and he's getting burned a little bit because of it. You have to have a happy medium. Just like soccer, my little boy, he's 6, the smallest one on his team. They've nicknamed him Rocket because he is that darn fast. He's on a travel team. He actually is playing up with U8. Usually they don't put 6-year-olds on the team. However, that kid is just an all-around good player. And the one thing about him, he's got ball awareness, all these things. He's quick. He learns fast. He listens. Okay? And I told him, look, first game last year, you're blowing these guys up coming up the field with the ball running 100 mile an hour. You got to dial it back. Let them get to you, and then you stick to them and smother them. And I think Flott is going 100 miles an hour off the line, and I think that's one thing they got to address. I think this whole defense is a lot of they're testing these guys right now, what they're good at and things, and it is preseason. But the one thing I'm really, really, truly worried about is if that's true, and we're drafting these Carmonas and things and Anthony Hills into the draft position for picking them, I worry about the one thing that can get Borgonzi fired if he gets all these other pieces right is if Cam Ward, I really need him to get that between his ears and take the check downs and just hurt the ball, throw it at your receiver's feet. Just get rid of it. Don't take sacks on first down. Figure this thing out, man, because I think we might have something special with Borgonzi and Robert Saleh and our offensive coordinator. The best thing to happen is that dude cannot be on the Titans next year because he coached up that offense so well. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dustin. I think on the Cam Ward front yesterday, something Corey and I noticed was it seemed like there was a big emphasis on taking his checkdowns. Like that was most of the day yesterday. It was just like, all right, go through your read and get it to the check down quick if you don't see anything open. And he did it. And I felt like Cam Ward was getting more willing to take those checkdowns and not hunt as much on every play. We'll see how that plays out when you get into a game setting, because obviously we saw some of those issues pop up last week in San Francisco. With Cordell Flott, yes, there's reason for concern with his performance last week. But I do agree with what Dustin said of, I think they're working out some of the kinks in this defense. You're learning how to play fast and violent, but you also have to do it in a way that's under control. You can't get penalties. You can't be out of position. And Cordell Flott obviously did not look good against San Francisco. But Parker, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, it's not like every practice you're coming out of there saying Cordell Flott was burnt toast the entire time. We've
really only been saying it after the San Francisco game and then Saturday's practice.
Right. Like, I think Cordell Flott has had some bad days, but this isn't something that has been a consistent issue of Cordell Flott is a problem in the secondary. Let's see how it develops tomorrow and into the preseason game on Sunday. I mean, I would guess Flott's going to get some matchups with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know he's going to be in the slot a decent amount. He'll probably get a decent amount of Rashid Shaheed. You're going to get some tests. Is Shaheed hurt? For some reason, when I said his name, I felt like he was injured, but maybe not.
I haven't seen him in Hard Knocks.
Yeah, well, Cooper Kupp, you'll get to see some Cooper Kupp too.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a good matchup tomorrow. Let's see how Cordell Flott responds after a tough week in San Francisco. 615-737-1025. Back to the phone lines. Trey has called in. Trey, good morning. Always great to hear from you.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing this morning?
We're doing great.
Better
Trey.
now.
Hey, I want to say my concern with Cam Ward would be, for me, from what I see, because I normally listen to the games, but I watched the first preseason game. It seemed like everything for me was like slow motion. Like, it seemed like it wasn't any kind of like speed there. The tempo was off. He was missing the receivers. Either he was too, up front with the ball or behind the, and I think that his mental clock is off. And as the season progressed, they already have tape on Cam Ward. Cam Ward already has tape out there. They know exactly what he's going to do. And in order for Cam Ward to be better, he have to rebrand what he's doing and be a better performer. And I really honestly believe that his clock is off. If his clock was like beaming to where, everything was lining up correctly, because we're not going to be able to run 200 yards and score. He's going to have to push the ball down the field. And until I see that, guys, consistently, I'm going to be on the fence. I'm going to really be on the fence. I don't care what nobody else do. I don't even know who these other players are. I know who Cam Ward is, and he needs to get the ball down the field this year. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, well, that play was good. 1 or 2 plays out of a whole game, 5 completions and 20 passes. That's not good enough. That's not relevant. If you want to be relevant and be a Tennessee Titans leading quarterback, you have to be better. This isn't a fashion show. This is grown men out there that's gonna come out there and try to bust your head. And if your clock is off, then they gonna bust your head every game. That's physics. But I love you guys, and y'all have a good day. God bless y'all. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for the call, Trey. We always love hearing from you. I agree with Trey on the point that I think something just felt off with Cam Ward on Thursday night. Like, nothing was crisp. Nothing was easy. You hope it was just an off night. You hope it was just a bad night. But it was a lot of the same issues we saw last year that poked their head back up. I think this is a big weekend for him. Back at home, you get the defending Super Bowl champions in town. It is a good test to see if Cam Ward can build off of what we've seen the last few practices since returning home from the West Coast. Shocking news there, Parker, that Trey does not know the other players other than Cam Ward.
I'm dumbfounded by that. I'll just say that. I'm dumbfounded.
I thought Trey would know every man on the 53. I don't know who these other players are, but I know Cam Ward.
It don't really matter if Cam Ward can't push the ball down the field.
That was a good tray. That was well done. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. 6765 says, can we get Trey in the press box at least once this season? That's a Titans question.
Sitting right next to me. That would be fantastic entertainment.
I think we need can we get a Trey game breakdown? Like a picture-in-picture stream of Trey? I don't know if he can watch the game.
I just want to know what he looks like.
Yeah.
I'd like a video live component to all this.
I go back to Ice JJ Fish. That is what is in my mind when I hear his voice. That is who I'm envisioning. But
I actually agree.
I think it's pretty spot on. Like an older version, but that's what I imagine he looks like. I want a Trey film breakdown. I want to see his analysis of every single play of a Titans game at some point. 615-737-1025. Let's do some roster math on the other side. 53 spots. How many of them are actually up for grabs as we hit the backstretch of training camp? We'll get to it next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Keep up with training camp with 102.5 The Game for the latest updates, player interviews, and more as we get you prepped for the upcoming football season. Coverage of training camp is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, Permanent Energy, and the Music City Kickoff Game. Joint practice with Seattle tomorrow. I think this is about the midway point of training camp. You're halfway through preseason week 2, getting closer and closer to cut down day when the Titans have to get down to 53. So I went through last night, and I went through locks, and I got 45 players that I think are locks for this team. I'm going to go through these quickly. Let me know, Parker, if you have any you disagree with here that you think.
I have my printed out roster ready to go.
All right. So
let's go through it.
Here are my locks. At quarterback, I got 2, Ward and Trubisky. They're both making the team.
Yep.
At running back, I have 3 locks, Pollard, Spears, Singleton. Not getting cut.
Agree.
I got 5 at wide receiver, Tate, Robinson, Ridley, DK, Iamaner.
Yep.
Tight end. I have 3 here. This might be our first controversial one. Helm, Bellinger, and with Canick's injury, I think DMR is a lock for this roster.
Kylan Granson's been looking solid.
I think they could keep 4, but I think DMR, with what he can do as a blocker, we've seen him in there when they go to 2 tight end sets. I think
he has been getting run.
I think with Canick out, DMR is a lock for this team.
I also think DMR is more athletic than Kylan Granson. The interesting part is they're going to keep 4 tight ends versus 5 inside linebackers.
Well, I wrote down where I think they could possibly use the final spots, and I think there's options to use a couple of different areas. It's going to just depend on special teams for the most part, right? It's going to be, who does Bones Fossil think is going to help him the most? That's what Robert Saleh said. The back end of the roster, you got to live in Bones Fossil's office. Offensive line, I have 8 locks. They're going to keep more than 8, but these are the players that I think are going to make the team no matter what.
Okay.
Moore, Skoronski, Schlottman, Carmona, Latham. That's your starting 5 as of right now. Coogan's making the roster. Slater's making the roster. And I've got Crenshaw Dixon as a lock. You got to have a swing tackle. He seems to have the inside track for that job. They're going to keep more than 8, but I think those 8 names are locks for this team.
Yeah, Crenshaw Dixon's been getting earlier reps than Austin Deculus. And in my opinion, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon looks a lot better than Austin Deculus.
It's hard to look worse than Austin Deculus.
But the thing is, okay, so you have your swing tackle. Does Cordell Volson make this team? Do you keep a third center in Andre James?
Yes.
And then Austin Deculus, does he make the team?
Yep. So I think you're gonna keep more than 8. It'll be 9, it'll be 10, but I think those 8 guys are locks. So that gives you 21 locks on offense. Defense, 5 defensive tackles. I don't think there's really much argument on who's going to make it at DT. Maybe you could see them keep like Colin Saunders, who anybody who was out of practice yesterday, Colin Saunders made a vulgar gesture towards the offensive sideline after making a tackle for loss. There are children in attendance at practice yesterday.
Come on, Colin.
I don't know. Has anybody told you what he did, Parker?
No, you may have to show me off air.
Yeah, I will show you off air. I'm not going. But anyway, at defensive tackle, I think he got 5. Simmons, I'm going to classify Franklin Myers as a defensive tackle. Solomon Thomas, Jordan Elliott, and I think Jackie Marshall. He's been injured, but they spent a draft pick on him. I think he makes the team. I think those are your 5 at DT. I'm going to call them locks. Defensive end, I've got Jermaine Johnson, Keldrick Falk, Jacob Martin, Femi Oladejo. Locks at defensive end. Jalen Harrell would have been iffy here, but now that he's hurt, I think that opens up a spot at the back end of that room.
That honestly, because he was a fringe guy. He was on the bubble. This injury, in a weird way, might have saved him.
Yeah. I think being on injured reserve at least keeps you around, because he's got 1 more year on his rookie deal after this, I want to say.
Correct.
So he's going to get the opportunity to get healthy, and then next year in his contract year, come back and see if he can make the roster and have a decent year. Off-ball linebacker, Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, Anthony Hill, James Williams, all making the team.
Yep.
Cornerback, I've got 4. Alante Taylor, Cordell Flott, Marcus Harris, and Joshua Williams, all going to make the team.
No Micah Robinson?
I don't have him as a lock.
I think he is.
I think he makes the team, but I did not have him as a lock.
Okay.
And then safety, I've got 3: Hooker, Winston, Tony Adams. I haven't noticed Tony Adams very much, but he's veteran. He's a veteran safety. They don't really have much of that in the room beyond the starters.
He knows solid scheme too.
Right.
Brought over from New York. He'll make the team.
He was brought in to be safety number 3. So I think those are my locks, plus the specialists: Morgan Cox, Tommy Townsend, Joey Sly. You got 45 guys. That leaves 8 spots left. And I think
46, because you didn't mention Micah Robinson,
so yeah,
but I think he's a lock.
If we want to put Micah Robinson in there, we can say 46. So that would leave you with 7 spots. I think you need a 4th running back. I think they're going to keep 4 running backs. The question is it Mullings? Is it Michael Carter? Is it Julius Chestnut? I think you keep a 4th running back. So that's going to take up one of those 7 spots. You're keeping a 6th wide receiver. I'm assuming it's Bryce Oliver. I wouldn't put it at lock status yet, but they're going to keep 6 wide receivers, and I think Oliver is the heavy favorite in there. So that's 2 spots. You got 5 left. I think you need at least 1 more offensive lineman, maybe 2. And you went through the scenario there of, okay, do you keep a 4th tackle? Is it Austin Deculus? I think Deculus could make the initial roster, but if another tackle comes free, that could be a waiver claim to make a small upgrade as your 4th tackle over Deculus. Like, I think Deculus could make the initial 53, but still be cut before week 1.
It's so tough because you have 8 locks on the offensive line, but if it comes down to, Cordell Volson,
yeah,
he may not have a guaranteed spot.
Volson has basically been removed from that competition.
Because if you need a backup guard, I'd just be willing to go, Slater. Coogan honestly might be able to play a little bit guard in a pinch if you need him to.
I think Coogan becomes your backup center and Slater is your backup guard.
And if you keep Andre James, he can work in at right guard. He's got a little bit of run with the second team at right guard.
So I think you keep at least 1 additional offensive lineman and get it to 9. I think you need a swing tackle. I'm going to say Deculus gets that spot to start. But again, I think if anybody remotely talented comes loose in the waiver process, I think you upgrade there. So
yeah, Austin Deculus is not.
Let's say 9 offensive linemen for now.
We'll
say that. 9. So that brings you down to 4 spots.
How many guaranteed locks did you have for the defensive line?
I had 9.
I think they keep 10.
I think they keep 10 too, but I'm not 100% sure who that would be. I think you also need a 4th safety. Right now they have Kendall Brooks listed as that 4th safety on the depth chart, so we'll give him a spot too. So that brings you down to 3 spots remaining. You got 3 spots left. And we can get into this coming up next. Who are those 3 spots up for? I think you look, obviously, Will Levis would be in that conversation. I think you could possibly look at a 4th tight end, a possible 10th offensive lineman. Do you add another defensive end with Jalen Harrell out, a 5th linebacker? I think there's a lot of options that you could go with for those final 3 spots on the roster. So we'll get to that coming up next. We'll wrap up hour number 1. Again, we're going through the Titans roster. Who are locks? We came up with, as a team, 46. You added Micah Robinson. I didn't have him there, but I'll agree to it. 46 locks, and then 4 guys who are probably going to make the team. A 4th running back, I would lean Khalil Mullings, Bryce Oliver, Austin Deculus, and Kendall Brooks as the safety. Those are like probable, not locks. You got 3 spots left. We'll talk about it coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Norfolk Tides. It's an early one. First pitch is at 11:05 a.m., and you can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. We are going through the Titans roster, trying to get down to 53. So far, we have found 50 guys that I think is more than likely that they make the roster. And maybe on the back end that we've talked about, some of the names might be interchangeable, but the numbers aren't. Like, you need at least 9 offensive linemen. You're going to need a 4th running back. You're going to need a 6th wide receiver. So I think those are all relatively filled out. We got 3 spots left. I think it comes down to Will Levis as a 3rd quarterback, a 4th tight end. Kylan Granson, I think, would be the name that you would think of for that spot, especially with Jaron Kanekert. A 10th offensive lineman, whether that's Cordell Volson, Andre James, just somebody else on that front to add his depth. A 5th defensive end. With Jalen Harrell out, that spot more up for grabs. I wrote down Malik Herring. I've really noticed him a lot over the last week or so since the 49ers preseason game. I think he would be in line to possibly be that 5th guy off the edge. A 5th off-ball linebacker, Dorian Mousey. Good special teams player. Diabate as well has gotten some run there. Or another depth piece in the secondary. Keedrain Callaghan, Jarek Reed, somebody else to add depth at defensive back. I think you got 3 spots to pick from. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. So half of those guys can make it. Where would you lean, Parker, in terms of where you think the chess pieces should move for depth at the back end of this roster?
I think they're going to add a 10th defensive lineman to this mix. That's always been my gut feel from the start, is that they're going to keep 10 with the way this rotation works.
Yeah.
You're going to have those guys out there for 60% of the time. You need bodies. So you didn't mention Colin Saunders. You mentioned Malik Herring.
They could go with 6 defensive tackles, especially because JFM can play on the edge.
You know, I have been impressed by Malik Herring too. So I'll lean Malik Herring as of right now.
That's kind of where I go to. He's another one of those big defensive ends who, if you needed to, could probably shift inside. So I'm going to say Herring gets one of those 3 spots. I really struggle with the offensive side because I think you're going to take at least one more player on the offense. Is it Levis? Is it Granson? Or is it another offensive lineman?
Did we mention 4 running backs?
I said that a 4th running back is going to make the team. I just don't know exactly who it is.
I think it'll be Mullings for special teams purposes. Former linebacker, knows how to tackle.
My guess would be Mullings, but he's been hurt, so you just never know. I'm going to say 10th offensive lineman. That's my guess right now. I just think with the uncertainty you have on the interior just as a whole, and with not a lot of depth on the outside at tackle, I think it can't hurt to have more guys in that room. And if you need to shuffle in and out, you can. But I'm going to lean 10th offensive lineman right now over a 4th tight end or Will Levis.
With the quarterback situation, the way that I see it playing out in my head, at least, is Levis is traded before the season. In theory, you keep Hendon Hooker on the practice squad because you can get away with having 2 quarterbacks. And if you're in a pinch, Tajay Spears has got a lot of run at Wildcat quarterback.
There we go. That's the plan. 3rd string quarterback, Tajay Spears. No, I agree with you. I think you can better use those spots for guys who can help on special teams, guys who can give you depth on the offensive line, rather than a 3rd quarterback who really – Will Levis, I think yesterday was probably Will Levis's best day of practice. I will say that. Like, he made some really nice throws, especially towards the back end of the first team period. He had a stretch of 3 straight balls that were really well thrown. That doesn't make up for what's been a pretty lackluster camp so far for him. He hasn't done anything to make me think, yeah, this guy has to be on your roster.
No.
Or he's going to be valuable somewhere else. I would go with guys who can help you on special teams more than Will Levis, who likely would never get an opportunity to play anyway.
And Dable doesn't utilize tight ends a whole lot, at least from a receiving standpoint, but he can run multiple tight end sets, you can do that with 3. So you can get
Right.
away with 3. And Cam Ward was durable for the most part of last year outside of the Jacksonville game. And if the emphasis is going to be on protecting him, then it would make sense for them to keep 10 offensive linemen, because at some point, someone's going to get hurt and they're going to have to use some depth.
I think the Levis plan is going to be, all right, if somebody offers us something, great, we'll trade him. If no one offers us anything, we'll cut him. If he gets through waivers, great. Levis can go on the practice squad. Perfect. I would guess somebody claims him, and I think the Titans would be okay with that. But I think you can find more value in a 10th offensive lineman. And then you get down to that last man on the roster. I would rather have a guy like Dorian Mousey, the linebacker who you claimed off waivers from the Vikings last year, can be a valuable special teamer. I would rather a Keydrain Callaghan or Jarek Reed, who can help you on the back end of that secondary, which has not been a very deep room. And you can also use them in special teams too. I think those roster spots are better utilized that way than keeping a third quarterback. Will Levis, I'm still going to say he is not on this team. Whether it's a trade or a release or he gets through to the practice squad, I don't know. But I'm going to say he does not make the 53 as of right now.
So we have the offense settled. Now we're to the defense. How many spots are we up to?
We got one spot left.
You got one spot left between who?
I think it would be down to, so we said Herring's on the roster.
Yep.
We said 10th offensive lineman.
Yes.
So I think on the defensive side, you're really deciding between a 5th off-ball linebacker, Dorian Mousey, Diabate, who was listed as a starter, actually.
I think if it came down to both of them, I lean Diabate.
Okay.
But what are my other options? Because safety and Keydrain Callaghan,
I
right?
think it's another depth piece in the secondary. So at this point, you'd have 5 corners and 4 safeties. Do you add a 10th defensive back? Jarek Reed, Keydrain Callaghan, I think would be some of the guys that would be in that conversation.
Did we mention Kendall Brooks?
Kendall Brooks I had on the roster as the 4th safety.
Okay.
So I think that's your decision. And I think it would just come down to, it might even just be, hey, we're at 52. If this is where they get to, which I'm sure it's not completely parallel to what we've come up with, I bet more Borgonzi and Saleh just go to Bones Fossil and say, hey, here's 4 guys for you. Who helps you the most on special teams? And I think that would be the decision.
Yeah, between Diabate, Dorian Mousey, and Keydrain Callaghan, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
Keydrain's my guy.
I know
so there's a little bias.
You're a
in
big
here.
Keydrain fan. I know that.
Oh, that is I'd probably lean Diabate.
And there's still time to figure this out, right? Like, and one thing we haven't talked about is injuries. Like a week ago, I think we both would have said Jaron Kanik and Jalen Harrell make this roster, right? Like I would have put both of those guys on this team. Now you're probably only keeping 3 tight ends. Maybe you're only keeping 4 guys off the edge. So it opens up more opportunities for guys maybe further down the pecking order right now. You're keeping your fingers crossed for no injuries, but I would say in all likelihood, one of those 50 guys that we listed off probably isn't going to be completely healthy heading into the season.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I think you made an excellent point. They're going to go to Bones Fossil and be like, hey, out of these 3 guys right here, which one helps you the most? And that comes down to that final roster spot.
Will from Brewston on the text line says, we must be the most negative humans on the planet. I don't know. How exactly is anything we're saying right now negative?
They have to cut players.
Right. We're talking.
Mandated.
They're getting down to 53 somehow.
I didn't say I like cutting players. It just has to happen.
We didn't talk about wins and losses. We didn't talk about performance from anybody. Like, we're just talking about getting down to 53. I don't understand how we're being negative.
Do you remember when Saleh was featured in Hard Knocks with the Jets and he talked about how much he hated roster cut down day?
Right. Yeah.
It's probably the least favorite job of any GM, any head coach ever.
Every coach talks about how it is their least favorite day of the year because these guys give everything that they've got for months trying to make this team. And a lot of it, like, we're arguing over the 53rd spot on the roster and where it should go. Like, that's what it comes down to. It's a handful of guys who all probably deserve to make it, but you can only pick 1 or 2. These guys hate it.
And you're basically looking another man in the eyes and telling them they're not good enough to fulfill their dreams, which sucks. Over 1,000 people get cut in the span of 24 hours.
It's crazy, yeah.
Across the NFL.
There used to be like mandatory cut down days where you went from 90 to 80 to 75. Like they used to cut it down slowly.
Now it's just 90 straight to 53.
You've got 37 guys on 32 rosters who are all getting cut in one day. It's crazy. So I don't think we're being negative. They got to get to 53 somehow. We're doing our best to see how they get there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Catch the Metro High School Game of the Week every Friday at 7 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Tomorrow night's game will feature Pearl Cone versus MBA, Montgomery Bell Academy. Before and after the game, Big Joe and Connor Newt will have complete high school football coverage with the Game Blitz powered by Southeast Financial Credit Union. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll keep the Titans talk rolling. I've been trying to get to this article for like 3 days on the show. The NFL did their future power rankings, where they're ranking teams based on their outlook from 2027 to 2029. That's the window that we have widely talked about. Like the Titans are building for the new stadium to be competitive in 2027 and beyond. Where do they stand in that journey? We'll get to it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour on this Thursday, Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Just went through the Titans roster. I feel pretty good about the 53 we came up with. There's going to be some tough decisions that Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh are going to have to make, but still time to evaluate this team leading up to cutdown day. It's the day after the final preseason game, correct? So it would be
August 30th.
August 30th,
So,
yeah.
yes.
So Sunday after that Bears game.
We should do this exercise again next week and see how close we can get to getting all 53.
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
pretty
good with
good,
that.
though.
Maybe next Thursday, or actually that's joint practice day.
I think we got at least between 48 and 50 right.
You know, let's do it with Corey on Wednesday next week. We'll go through and make a final 53-man roster projection.
That'll be fun.
I think Corey would be a good
right before Bears joint practice.
Right, exactly. I'm sure both of you guys are excited to be out there.
Oh, I'm so excited to be out there.
That's going to be fun.
I cannot wait to see Ben Johnson coach.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm sad that I'm going to have to miss tomorrow because I want to see the defending Super Bowl champs and see Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I will be out there next
City
Thursday.
route artist.
Yeah, the
Jackson Smith and
ECRA. One of the greatest nicknames of all time. All right, I wanted to get into this article. I've had this on the grid for 3 days now, and we always somehow find a way to just get off topic, and I skip it. But the ESPN did their future power rankings. This is from 4 of their analysts, Aaron Schatz, Ben Solak, Louis Riddick, and Seth Walder. And they went through and they rated all 4 teams based on all 32 teams based on 4 different aspects for the future from 2027 to 2029. So they rated the quarterback situation, the non-quarterback roster makeup, the front office, and the coaching staff based on what they believe they can do from 2027 to 2029. The Titans came in at 24th. And I don't necessarily think that's wrong, right? Like, I think there's so many questions about this team, and you don't really know about the young players and what they're going to end up being. But I did find it funny that we've talked about for the last really 2 years that I guess maybe not 2 years, a year and a half since they drafted Cam Ward of you're building for 2027 when the new stadium opens. That's when this team is hoping to be back in the playoffs and competing and having a chance every single year. To be in the bottom third of the league, I mean, I think it's not where you want to be, and you're going to have to see a lot of improvement specifically from the roster over the next year. Because I think with Mike Borgonzi, you've seen that he has the ability to draft guys with promise, right? Which with John Robinson, there were a lot of busts that you knew were busts pretty much right away. So the front office has brought in some young talent that is growing. Robert Saleh, I think you like what he's done with building his staff. You've obviously got to see it on the field. But you got to see this team take a big step forward this year. Maybe not in the wins and losses. Like, again, it doesn't exactly have to be a concrete, if they don't get to 8 wins this year, it's a failure. But you've got to see the hope you have for these young pieces actually turn into palpable physical results that you can see from Cam Ward, from J.C. Latham, from Carnell Tate, from Keldrick Falk to Kevin Winston. All those guys, you need to actually start to see real results that show that these guys are going to be good players in this league. And that's why I understand why they have them at 24 right now. But I do think there's an opportunity for this team to take a big jump in these rankings over the next year if some of those young pieces start to show why they were picked where they were.
Sure. And I want to give Mike Borgonzi the benefit of the doubt because I feel like I'm not going to say his vision is crystal clear because we don't have access to the conversations that go on behind the scenes, but you can kind of see some of these younger pieces that are trending in a positive direction to maybe being foundational pieces. We just talked about Kevin Winston in the secondary. I think Cedric Gray at linebacker is certainly one of those pieces. You hope Anthony Hill can be that. You drafted Keldrick Falk. Now we got to see some production from him in the NFL. And then you flip over to the offense. You just locked up Peter Skoronski, drafting Carnell Tate, Gunnar Helm, Chim Dike, Alec Ayomanor. Those are pieces. I think a reason why the Titans are so low as of right now is you saw flashes from Cam Ward last year, but you just don't know what he is yet.
Would you believe me if I told you that out of the 4 categories, quarterback is actually the one the Titans are rated highest in?
Really?
Yep. So the NFL rank overall, when you average all of the scores, the Titans come in at 24th. Their coaching and front office are both 24th, which I think I totally understand. With Robert Saleh, you are in a, well, let's see it kind of mentality with him because it didn't go well in New York. And you have to go see him actually have success with the Titans before you believe that he's a good coach. Even if you're seeing good traits of his coaching so far in training camp. I love the leadership we saw early in camp, throwing Big Jeff out of practice. I love the experience he's brought in on this coaching staff and the knowledge with Brian Dable and Carmen Brasillo and Gus Bradley, and you retain Bones Fossil. I think there's a lot to like there, but you got to see it first. So I think 24 is fair for Robert Saleh.
I did too.
I don't think you
and
can
the coordinators too.
You can't put him that much higher without actually seeing him win football games, right?
Right, because his coaching record in New York is a blemish on the resume.
What, 16-28? Was that the final?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Not good.
So
not good.
You need to see it from Robert Saleh, even if there are signs showing that he is going to be a big improvement over Brian Callahan. Front office is also tough to judge at this point because even though you like some of the picks Mike Borgonzi's made on paper and you saw some of them flash last year, do you really know what a GM's draft record or draft report card is going to be until 3, 4, 5 years down the road? So I don't know if you can really put Mike Borgonzi too high on this list because it's just the sample size is so small and a lot of the decisions he's made, you don't know if they were good or bad yet. So I understand why the coaching in the front office are both right around 24. It's like, all right, there's some promise there, but we don't know yet. We've got to see it before we can truly believe it.
Yeah, I have no problem with the front office and coaching just because you got to see it. But with quarterback being the highest at 21, I can't go that far yet. But also, too, the roster outside of the quarterback is ranked 30th. I feel a lot better about the roster than I do right now about Cam Ward.
Yeah, which surprised me. Quarterback 21st in the league, which a little higher than what we've seen.
I would expect him to be a little bit lower than where the front office and coaching staff was ranked.
Because we went through
25, 26.
It was the Athletics quarterback tiers had him 25th, I want to say.
Yeah.
So this poll of these analysts have him at 21st, have the highest score among these 4 categories. The overall roster, excluding quarterback, is 30th, which understandable. Again, like I said, you have to see it, right? That's kind of where we are with the Titans of there is hope. And you're looking at this roster and saying, J.C. Latham, 7th overall pick, man, if he's looking good in camp, if he takes a big step this year, that does a whole lot for the offensive line. If Carnell Tate's a wide receiver 1, man, this offense could really take a big step forward. If Wan'Dale Robinson continues what he did in Dable's offense in New York, man, this offense could take a big step forward. There's a lot of ifs on both sides of the ball right now, but 30th I feel is a little bit low considering some of the young talent and the veteran pieces that the Titans brought in this offseason, right? It's not all the young pieces. You do have proven players that you brought in this offseason. John Franklin Myers, Alontae Taylor coming off of his best season as a pro.
Same with Cordell Flott.
Right. Jeffrey Simmons is still on the roster.
He technically had his best year last year.
So I'm a little surprised that it's 30. I'm a little surprised.
And the nugget to know is talking about Cam Ward's QBR and how it was 3rd lowest for any rookie quarterback since 2011.
Yep.
But yet you have him at 21. That just does not add up to me.
Yeah, it is funny that so these are written by different people, but Reason for Hope is from Benjamin Solak, and he says, a team should always be optimistic when it has a number 1 overall pick. Cam Ward's 2025 season was far from statistically perfect, but the film shows a passer more than capable of running a quality NFL offense. With hits on Ward and 2026 first-rounder Carnell Tate, the Titans should have the cornerstones necessary to build a strong roster foundation. So Benjamin Solak says, Cam Ward is probably your biggest reason for hope heading into the season. But Aaron Schatz later on says Ward's QBR was the 3rd lowest for any rookie quarterback drafted in the top 5 since 2011, only ahead of Jared Goff and Blake Bortles.
And the reason that this roster probably gets dinged is the thing that Louis Riddick talks about, the offensive line, where Cam Ward was sacked 55 times last year.
Yeah.
And talks about the 17.7% off target percentage, how that must improve, and that will improve if he has good protection. So that's probably where the overall roster outside of Cam Ward gets dinged, is the offensive line.
Yeah, and we can talk about this coming up next. I think there's just such a wide spectrum of outcomes for this offensive line this year that you could see. And I think you're right that if you get to one end and you see that this offensive line is trending in the right direction, this team could be competitive next year. But there's also another scenario where you're having to spend a lot of resources again next offseason to try and solidify that group. I mean, we talked about it yesterday with the Texans of they have been trying for 3 off seasons to try and get that offensive line right in front of CJ Stroud, and it just hasn't worked. They do it over and over and over again, and they haven't been able to figure it out. Can you start to get a little bit of consistency and a framework and a foundation on that offensive front? That could end up being the key to whether the Titans can take a big step forward in the years to come. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 3337 on the text line says, is it just me or does Robert Saleh look like a Dragon Ball Z character? I've never heard that before.
Sure.
I'm not a big Dragon Ball Z guy.
Dude's pretty buff, so yeah, it makes sense. And he's bald.
Is that is Goku? Yes. Okay. Goku is Dragon Ball Z. I was like, I've heard that name before.
Is that the dude with the yellow hair?
Maybe. It's like they go like is like the celebration that you see in the end zone a lot. I don't know specifically.
Maybe.
Like I'm looking at it. I mean, he is ripped. Like
big old dude.
He's got like the cartoon biceps, I guess, which you see on some of these, but I don't know if I've heard that before. That's a good one from 3337. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Hang out with us next Friday, August 28th at T-Line in West Nashville as we celebrate 1025 The Game's 15th year of being on the air. We have gifts for you, the listeners, every hour starting at 6 a.m. Listen for a chance to win Preds tickets, Vandy tickets, concert tickets, and more. And if you stop by T-Line and get signed up, you have a chance to win Nashville Predators season tickets. For more information, visit thegamenashville.com/birthdays. Sponsors of the game birthday celebration: Pickers Vodka, Tennessee Men's Clinic, Parman Tractor and Equipment, The Wine Cellar in Hendersonville, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, TJ Anderson Homes, Family Leisure, Houston Clinic Orthopedics, Bob's Steak and Chop House, Franklin Motors, Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue, Adventure Science Center, Job News Nashville, Deer Run Camps and Retreat, and the Sexual Assault Center. We appreciate all the sponsors who have been with 1025 The Game for so long, helping celebrate the 15th year anniversary. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. More Titans talk on the other side. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you, talking Titans on your Thursday morning. ESPN put out a ranking of all 32 NFL teams based on their future outlook, the future power rankings, looking specifically at 2027, 2028, 2029, who has the best chance to go win championships over that 3-year span. I think we're far away from the Titans being in the Super Bowl conversation, but I do think that the plan since Mike Borgonzi was hired, since they drafted Cam Ward, has been to build for that window, 2027 through 2029. Get this fan base energized, heading into a new stadium, and you got to win games to do that. And to see the Titans ranked 24th, I think can be a little bit disappointing, because it looks like, all right, well, man, this team has been building for the future for the past 3 off seasons, and you're still in the bottom third, adjacent to the bottom quadrant of the league. And the one thing that stood out here to both of us, Parker, is that when you look under the hood at the different categories they have here, quarterback, coaching, front office, and the overall roster, it's the roster that brings them down the most, 30th in the NFL. And I do agree with you, Parker, that the offensive line, I think, is the big concern. That you still have one of the worst groups on paper on the offensive line across the entire league. And when you have a young quarterback, that can be a quick way for things to go south.
No, I agree. This is all, really dependent on Cam Ward. When you spend a first overall pick on him, he's got to work out, or else Salah's probably going to lose his job. A lot of people are going to lose their job if Cam Ward doesn't work out.
It's all tied to Cam Ward.
It is, and that's just the truth of it. Quarterback is obviously the most, at least to me, the most important position in sports. But when you spend a first overall pick on him, it takes that expectation and it heightens it.
Yep. And
so that's what it is.
I think you look at what they did this offseason, the weapons are certainly improved. Carnell Tate, Wan'Dale Robinson, you get year 2 for Chimdike and Alec Iamaner, and we talked to Chimdike yesterday. He was great, talked about the growth, being a more consistent player, being a player who can do more for this team. You see the weapons they've given him, and you say, all right, it could look a lot better this year. But the offensive line is a big question mark. And there is, I said it heading into the break, there's such a wide range of outcomes for this offensive line this year. You could head into next year with Peter Skoronski still as the only piece on this line that's solidified. And there's a chance if J.C. Latham gets injured or has another lackluster subpar year, you could be looking for a starting left tackle, a starting right tackle, a starting center, and a starting right guard. There is 100% a possibility that ends up working out next offseason, that you need to replace 4 starters on your offensive line, which is a nightmare.
Yeah, no, because we don't know about what center is going to look like this year. Fernando Carmona, there's trends. Like he's been trending in training camp, but that is the worst nightmare. I'm just thinking about it from a tackle perspective, right? Because the Titans will be in the market next year for a left tackle, probably through the draft. But if you have to replace J.C. Latham as well, and then you have to address the secondary too, that is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, and there's a lot of holes right now that you look at and you say, man, you could have to address that next offseason. But there are pieces that you hope can step up and fill them. There is also an outcome where by the end of the year, J.C. Latham has taken a big step forward and looks more like the guy you picked at 7th overall, and you feel really good about him as the right tackle of your future. Fernando Carmona steps in and has a great year as a rookie, and you don't have to worry about right or left guard at all. Those are solidified heading into next year. There's even a chance Pat Coogan eventually steps in this year, and he could be your starting center of the future. That is a possibility. And then you're looking at the offensive line and saying, man, we've got 4 spots with young guys we feel good about. Dan Moore, yeah, he's under contract. If we want to get somebody younger behind him or to replace him, we can in the draft. But, man, the offensive line is looking solid. And it could be anywhere in between those 2 outcomes as well. I think that could be what decides whether this team heading into 2027 is looking at contending for the AFC South or is in another spot where you're like, man, I just hope it's not another 3 or 4 win season. I think the offensive line is going Cam Ward, of course, his improvement is paramount to this, but hand in hand with that is figuring out the offensive line. And it's going to come down to, do the young guys take the step you need them to? Latham, Carmona, maybe even Coogan at some point, maybe not this year, but down the road.
And something that I've been thinking about too is I have no doubt that the Titans are going to try to find a replacement for Dan Moore next year, presumably through the draft. But a good thing about this offense, and I think a reason why we've been pleasantly surprised with the offensive line is because Brian Daboll's system is so schemed around getting the ball out quick in these option routes. That's less time for the offensive line to have to block. So it may masquerade some of those deficiencies that we may not know until we get later in the season.
Yeah, and Cam Ward has to be better at getting the ball out quick. And, if it's there, take it. If Gunnar Helm comes off the line and runs a stop route 5 yards down the field and he's open, take it. And don't hold the ball like you did in San Francisco that led to the horrible intentional grounding play, the sack that, again, got called. It ended up not happening because of the holding penalty in the secondary. But you need to see Cam Ward taking those easy throws that Brian Daboll is scheming up, because you're right, it does take the pressure off that offensive line. 615-737-1025. Craig on the text line says, I just don't see Cam Ward improving enough to be a QB who can reliably get you to the playoffs. I just think it's way too early to know. This year is going to be so crucial, and obviously last week was not a good start to his sophomore season, but it's way too early to know what he's going to be as a quarterback for his entire career. I mean, Marcus Mariota took a big step in year 2. And I think everybody after year 2 would have been saying the Titans finally found their franchise quarterback, got him to 9-7, tripled your win total in year 2. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks in football for about a month and a half span there back in 2016. And it just never looked the same again after the injuries. You just don't know. And this is a massive year for Cam Ward to prove that he's on the right track. But in terms of anybody saying that there's no doubt Cam Ward is going to be a franchise quarterback and he's going to get to the Titans to the playoffs every single year, you have no idea. And on the other end of the spectrum, you don't know either. It's got to happen this year that you see the ascent. Doesn't mean they have to be a playoff team, but Cam Ward has to show that he's got that in him this year by winning games and being a more consistent player, not having a game or two where he looks good and then a 3-week stretch where he doesn't look so good. You got to start to see more consistency from Cam Ward week over week.
And there were some things from Cam Ward that I just couldn't defend with the San Francisco 49ers performance last week, but I feel like I've been defending Cam Ward a lot, and I'm always going to defend development of quarterbacks because it's just so different for everybody. It's not a linear process, with Mahomes sitting a year behind Alex Smith and then taking the reins right away. And then, Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl on his 5th team. JJ McCarthy's in his 3rd year, just got benched for Kyler Murray. It's different for everybody, but there's no development anymore in the NFL. There's really not a whole lot of development in college anymore with all the transferring going on. So it's unfortunate that it has to be this way just because there's a lack of patience.
Right.
And it's so expedited for Cam Ward, but it is the quarterback development. There has to be some patience involved, and there's just not.
Yeah, and I understand. Everybody wants to know. You picked him first overall. You want to know if this is your franchise quarterback, and I think that's why people are so quick to jump to one side or the other of, I know he's a bust. I know he's a franchise quarterback. The truth is that nobody knows at this point. And that's why I defend against the, I don't think Cam Ward can do it. Well, you don't know yet. You don't know. You've got to see what he can do heading into year 2 and see if he's developed under Brian Daboll. But for anybody, like, we had to get on the Cam dues after the scrimmage last week and say, anybody taking victory laps and saying that he's going to be a superstar, it's way too early for that. And I think patience needs to be the word. Now, there's a time when patience runs out, and I think year 2, year 3, that's been the usual timeline for young quarterbacks of, you've got to show us you're the guy by the end of year 2 or early in year 3, or else we're going to move on and try and find somebody else. But He's only 16 real games in. He played one drive in that final game against Jacksonville. It's way too early to make a decision. Let's see how he starts off this year. I do think, and I'll keep saying it, the Jets game is going to just send any Cam Ward dialogue into hysteria, one way or the other. If Cam Ward throws for 4 touchdowns and the Titans win the game by 30 points, Cam Ward is going to be Tom Brady, and he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. If Cam Ward throws 2 picks and you lose to the Jets, they're going to be trying to run him out of town with pitchforks and torches. There's going to be no in between, really. And so that's why I think week 1 is so important, not just for getting a win under your belt, but for keeping the dialogue around this team and around this quarterback, at least within the realm of reality. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will continue to talk Titans. We'll get into some college football later on this hour as well. Some Vols uniform news, both yesterday and today. Wanted to get Parker's thoughts on that and much more. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Talking Titans here. We'll get into some college football in just a minute. We were talking about Cam Ward and kind of the patience to develop him as a quarterback. And WB and Thompson Station, I think I understand where he's coming from here, talking about Cam Ward as he was coming out. A lot of people viewed him as just the best option in a bad quarterback class. I disagreed, and I think the league disagreed. The Giants were trying to trade up to get Cam Ward at number 1 overall. So clearly multiple teams viewed him as a guy worthy of the number 1 pick. But he mentions that this year there was a surefire number 1 quarterback picked. Parker, your former college quarterback, was Fernando Mendoza a far and away better prospect than Cam Ward coming out of college?
No. In fact, if they came out of the same draft, I'd had Cam Ward higher.
I would have taken Ward 2 over Mendoza just based on what they were in college. And I think a lot of people, there's revisionist history on what Cam Ward was coming out. Some people might tell you that he wouldn't have been a first-round pick in a different draft. Teams don't offer multiple first-round picks to move up for a guy they don't think would have been a first-round pick in another draft, okay? Cam Ward was a legitimate number 1 overall pick type of quarterback coming out. Now, was he the type of prospect that we've seen in other drafts? No, he's not Andrew Luck. He was not Trevor Lawrence. He was not Caleb Williams. Heck, I think the year before, there were 3 first overall picks in that draft. Williams, Daniels, May.
I was getting ready to say.
All would have gone first overall.
Cam Ward probably would have been slotted 4 out of that group. Would you have taken Cam Ward before a Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix?
Coming out of Washington State, obviously.
I think he was like a projected
like 2nd or 3rd round pick.
Yeah, 3rd, 4th, probably 3rd.
I think if you're just matching them up as prospects coming out, Cam Ward was behind that tier of Williams, Daniels, May, but ahead of that next tier. Cam Ward is a legitimate number 1 overall pick, and I think he was a better prospect than Mendoza coming out. They're different players, and I think knowing what Cam Ward did in his rookie season where it wasn't perfect and there were a lot of issues, I think people have started to lean more into, he wasn't worth it. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Even if he ends up being a bust, that doesn't mean that he wasn't a prospect worth taking there for the Titans at number 1. Ron on the text line does make a good point here. Cam has to get better at reading defenses with the help of his center, being able to read where they need to shift blocks to give Cam time to read better. I do think Cam did a good job pre-snap for the most part last year. I think he took good command and was able to at least attempt to get people in the right positions. That's why it bothered me so much that the Titans didn't go out and get a veteran center who's done it at a high level. Now, Schlottman has been in this system, which I think does help, but the Raiders, we're talking about Mendoza, the Raiders went out and got Linderbaum to kind of be that guy for Mendoza whenever he steps in of, hey, you don't really have to worry about protections as much because Linderbaum's got it covered. Cam Ward does need to be better. On Monday, right after the throw to Carnell Tate on 4th down, big play. It was in a 2-minute drill, hit him down the field. Titans get it inside the 10, and there was like 3 seconds left. They needed a touchdown. And the defense shows pressure, and Cam didn't have anybody picking up Jermaine Johnson free off the edge, ended up blowing up the play. Incomplete pass would have been game over. I agree with what Ron is saying. Cam does need to improve on making sure he's got the protections in the right spot. We saw that against the Raiders last year that led to the sack fumble inside the 5 where Devin White came free. There has to be a little bit more consistency of making sure that he's not letting free rushers fly in on every single player, at least free rushers that he doesn't know they're coming, right? If you know a guy's coming in hot, you can make your hot read and find the right guy.
Well, also ensuring that you have one, because if you see the pressure and I don't think, guys like Jermaine Johnson, they may not disguise it the best because, you can tell just by the way their body position is that the lean forward and all that they're coming. So you can change the protection, sure, or change the play to make sure that you have a hot read. So, a Wan'Dale Robinson can replace where that blitzer is coming from. replace where he would be,
right,
and make sure you get the ball out.
Like, obviously, there's going to be times when you get a free rusher. You can't always. Sometimes they just send more than you have into block, but when you don't know where they're coming from and you can't plan for it, that's when you get into big trouble. So
yes.
I agree with what Ron's saying.
But you got to be able to know too. Like you that's what made, guys like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning so great, was they were the smartest quarterbacks to play pre-snap. Like they could see that stuff coming and be able to change protections and guarantee that, hey, if this guy's coming, I have my hot here. And it helps them not take those sacks, those unnecessary hits.
Yeah, no, I agree. And 55 sacks last year. Some of that is on the offensive line. Some of it's also on Cam Ward. You got to know where your pressure is going to be coming from.
Right.
And you also have to be able to get the ball out fast.
Because if you have a play action dialed up too, a long developing pass play down the field where you need to go deep and your offensive line just doesn't protect, or you have a case where, to use Nicholas Singleton as an example, gets blown up in the backfield, that's not necessarily your fault.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right. The Levis play last week in Santa Clara. Sometimes your blocking is going to break down. That's not on Cam Ward, but you got to be able to you're the one reading the defense pre-snap. You've got to make sure that your guys know what they're supposed to do and where they're supposed to be to make sure you don't get hit. 615-737-1025. A lot of people disagreeing with us on taking Cam Ward over Fernando Mendoza as prospects. Again, want to make sure that is clear. Like, Mendoza, we'll see what he does, but I'm saying coming out of college, I think Mendoza and Ward were similarly rated prospects. I probably would have taken Ward over them. I think there's a lot of revisionist history based on what Cam Ward did as a rookie. You know more about him, and what you've known about him so far has not been great in the NFL. That doesn't mean that he wasn't a very highly rated prospect that a lot of teams would have taken number 1 overall if given the opportunity.
The Giants tried to trade up. Brian Daboll tried to trade up to get him.
People are saying that means nothing because the Giants are a bad organization. The
interest was there. All the teams that are picking at the front of the draft are bad.
Guys, Brian Daboll is now your offensive coordinator. He is the one who wanted Cam Ward. You can't say Brian Daboll is a good offensive mind. And sure, maybe you don't believe in Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll's the one who wanted Cam Ward. So it's not the Giants organization. It's your offensive coordinator who wanted to make that pick. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get back into the Titans later in the show. Titans and Seahawks joint practice tomorrow. Going to be a good test for the Titans with the Super Bowl champs coming to town. Preseason game number 2 on Sunday. National television on Sunday night on Fox. That'll be fun. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up hour number 2 after this. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you, finishing the second hour on this Thursday. We will get back into the Titans in just a little bit. Titans and Seahawks joint practice tomorrow out at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Excited to see what the Titans can do after a rough week out in San Francisco. Can they bounce back against the defending Super Bowl champions tomorrow and Sunday in the preseason game? I have a quick rant. It's going to take 2 minutes, and then we're going to get into some college football. We've got plenty of Tigers fans at the station here, actually. I know Derek Mason, Tigers fan, maybe not a huge baseball guy, but Joe Rexroad is obviously a big Tigers fan. We talked about this on the way over. The Tigers missing the playoffs this year is attributed to the decision to bring in one man and one man only, Kenley Jansen. Oh my goodness. He is horrible. And that doesn't take anything away from Kenley Jansen's career as a closer. I mean, he is one of the greatest closers of all time. Good player throughout his career. It's over, though. God, he's horrible. 18 blown saves. No, 28 blown saves. I'm sorry, not just for him, but for the whole Tigers bullpen this year. And 19 games this year, the Tigers have led heading into the seventh inning and lost. Just quick rant there. Kenley Jansen, get him off of my baseball team, please. Gave up 2 home runs yesterday to the Pittsburgh Pirates to lose that game. Led 3-2 heading to the bottom of the ninth, lost 4-3. Getting closer to ending the Tigers' chances of making the playoffs. There we go. Rant over. Kenley Jansen, get off the Detroit Tigers, please.
Well, now is go time for the Tigers because they're the Chicago White Sox just lost a series to the Cubs, and they need to make up some ground if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, Tigers are now 5.5 games out of the division and like 2.5 games out of the wild card, but there is a lot of traffic in front of them. I want to say there's 4 teams between them and the final wild card spot. Yeah.
They're 5.5 games back.
They're 1.5 games out of the playoff spot
in the Central,
but they've got 5 teams in front of them. I'm close to giving up completely. And even if they get in, the bullpen's so bad, it doesn't matter. Like, they're going to lose because they can't hold on to leads. And now you don't have Tarek Skubal either. Anyway, rant over. I just had to get off that off my chest. Kenley Jansen sucks. He's horrible. Just meatballs over the plate every time he goes out there. I wanted to get your thoughts, Parker. Alabama and Tennessee going back to the color on color, red on orange for their rivalry matchup, third Saturday in October for each of the next 2 years. I love it. I think rivalry matchup should have more of the home jersey on home jersey instead of somebody wearing white.
You know, every now and again in the football offseason, we get wins. And this is one of those wins where the decision makers finally, you know, if I were to go up to some random person on the street who doesn't know a lot about college football and I were to ask them, what do you think makes college football so special? They'd probably list 3 to 4 things before they get to the actual games on the field. And one of those things is tradition. And this is a traditional uniform matchup between Tennessee and Alabama. So the fact that we're getting this again, huge win for Tennessee and Alabama, huge win for the third Saturday in October. Huge win for college football fans.
Yeah, I mean, go back to the traditions. This is what we love college football for, the traditions. And like seeing in the announcement, the old pictures of them wearing the crimson versus the orange, it's the way things were meant to be. So I'm very glad they're doing that. And that rivalry has turned into more of a rivalry lately. I mean, for years it was Tennessee just can't beat Alabama. And to be fair, not a lot of teams could beat Alabama during that span with Nick Saban in his prime. But Tennessee has won each of the last 2 games at Neyland Stadium. It's going to be a great aesthetic matchup on October 17th when the teams match up. And I think Corey got flamed a little bit yesterday for his comment of, I have Alabama and Vanderbilt on the same level. There were some people who were not very happy about that.
I'm sorry, that's just not the truth. That's just not the truth.
I agree with you. Like, as much as I am a Vandy guy, Alabama is still Alabama, even if they are not Nick Saban's Alabama.
Add it to just a long list of terrible takes by Corey Curtis.
I do understand what Corey was saying in terms of the likelihood that they win, right? Like, you're hosting Alabama, so there's more of a chance there, whereas you're playing Vanderbilt on the road. I know that Tennessee fans do show out at Vanderbilt in those games, but like, I think I would say there's a better chance Tennessee beats Vanderbilt this year than they beat Alabama, but I wouldn't say it's completely out of the realm of possibility. But that's
2-2 the last 4 years.
Right. It's going to be a fun game. And yeah, Tennessee can make it 3 straight wins over Alabama inside Neyland Stadium.
Yeah. And before that, I mean, it's 15 straight for old Nick Saban in Alabama versus Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's become more of a rivalry lately, and it'll make it more fun with the home jerseys being worn for both teams. Also, Smoky Grays have been released this morning, the Adidas ones. I'm a fan. The one thing I'm not super sure about is the T on top of the helmet. It's kind of a strange look. I know it's it's a throwback to like previous jerseys and all that. I'm just not a huge, like the leather helmet, I think is what they're trying to pay homage to. But I am not a huge fan of that. Outside of that, I think the color looks great. Like the smoky gray, the orange pops. I just don't know if I love the helmet.
My biggest complaints with these jerseys, I love the interlocking UT. I'm glad they brought that back.
I agree with that.
The attention to detail with the old Adidas logo, I like. I'm not a fan how they change it up every year, and I do not like the gray on white. I would prefer gray pants, and also, too, I just think it looks kind of tacky with the orange and white socks on the gray and orange cleats.
I agree with that.
The matte helmet, I'm okay with the matte gray, but I prefer an interlocking UT orange instead of the, intersecting stripes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it would look better if they went full smoky gray. Just lean into it.
Yes.
Smoky gray pants, smoky gray
white
socks.
Pants, no white socks.
The white is a little bit jarring when you look at it, but overall, I do think it's a strong uniform. Maybe not.
I do like the pants, but maybe with like a different, colored jersey. Because it has a little bit of a cream tint to it. It's not all the way white.
Yeah. I mean, it's off-white for sure. But I think it's a good look. It could be better. I think that's the best way to put it. I like the smoky grays. I wouldn't say it's my favorite look that they've ever run out there.
I just prefer the all gray. If you're going to do it, go all gray. And then
the
I'd
star
like to
on
see,
the back. I haven't seen that.
I do like the star on the back. I don't hate it, but I'd also like to see Tennessee get a cream jersey. They have it in basketball, and then they wear them on Sundays in baseball. If you had a cream football jersey, all cream, that would look great.
Yeah, I mean, I think cream would be good with the orange. What are your thoughts on? I've seen a lot of people. I don't know if they would do it because the Lady Vol blue is for the Lady Vols, but would you ever like a football uniform that incorporated the blue?
Yeah, I mean, they've done it before, but it's been mainly like wristbands, arm sleeves.
Right, but like maybe not like full-on Florida State blue, but like accents, that's ugly. In the orange.
I wouldn't mind. Just because Pat Summitt's just a legend, a UT legend. I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't hate it. I also just noticed, I'm getting the detail shots here from the Tennessee football account. The Neyland on the shoulder sleeves is kind of cool too. I like the
kneeling pose. That's a iconic pose from General Neyland.
The stadium, like the stadium architecture on the side of the sleeves. I don't know if you've seen this yet.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good look too.
The detailing's good.
The attention to detail is good. I agree with you though. Like I probably would lean away from the white, but it's a good look. And last thing quickly here before we go to break, we were talking about it. Chance to watch DGG on national television tonight. How about it? The Baylor School going to be on ESPN2. Is that right?
Yes, tonight. Yeah, ESPN2 is 7:00. I think it's after the Little League World Series, so it may not start exactly at 7 or come on air exactly at 7.
God, don't get me started. It's the worst.
I can tell I struck a chord here.
I was watching ESPN yesterday, and props to all the Little League kids. Maybe maybe people aren't going to agree with this take. Props to the Little League kids. I'm glad that they're getting their opportunity on national TV, but these 2 weeks, it's all you can find on ESPN is Little League Baseball.
All
And
the studio shows have been moved to ESPN too.
I know. And it's fine, but sometimes they even interject there early on. I won't get into it because I feel like that's an unpopular take.
You're being so negative.
It's just like the 2 weeks where all you can find on TV is Little League Baseball always annoys me a little bit. Anyway, Ricky on the text line says it's not a T. It's supposed to be the leather straps on the helmet. So I get why they're doing it. I still don't think I'm a big fan of that one. I'd
prefer the interlocking UT.
Right. I think that would be
nice.
a better look. The interlocking UT and orange on the side, I think, would be a better look. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk some college football. We'll talk some Titans in the final hour of the show on this Thursday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Final hour on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We'll talk some Titans later on in the hour. Joint practice tomorrow with Seattle. Excited for that. We'll talk about some of the big matchups that we'll see out there at Titans training camp. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, Parker, and we're going to do some college football here. The list that Brett McMurphy found at On3 and calculated, I guess, about the most overrated and underrated teams in the AP poll. And I wanted to get your thoughts specifically on this because you are a self-proclaimed AP poll hater. So you know that they get it wrong a lot. And I found it interesting, the teams that are kind of propped up by the AP poll and maybe some teams that aren't given enough respect by the AP poll. We talked about it with Corey yesterday. The number one most overrated team by AP poll voters since 2014 is the Auburn Tigers, which I don't think is super surprising. I think there are a couple of brands in college football that when they're remotely good, you are going to see voters push them higher in these discussions. Auburn would be one. LSU is number two. That makes a whole lot of sense. USC being number three makes a lot of sense. Corey would be thrilled about this one. Clemson at number four, which I can agree with. The last few years when they haven't been as good, I think they're forced into those rankings because it's like, all right, well, who's the best team in the ACC this year? I mean, I guess it's got to be Dabo and Clemson, right?
Well,
and
this
they just
is
put
the
them in
first
there.
season, too. They haven't been in the preseason poll since 2011.
Yep.
Makes sense.
You know what shocked me is number 5. Have you seen this list, Parker?
I haven't, but I've seen the grid.
Number 5, Wisconsin. Are the Badgers really getting that much of a boost from the AP poll voters?
I could see that back in the day before Luke Fickell got there.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, Wisconsin was a good team, like always had elite running backs. Jonathan Taylor, Melvin Gordon was awesome there. Like they were a good team for a long time. But man, I didn't think that they would be one of the more overrated teams in the AP poll. I would expect that they would kind of be middle of the pack, aren't getting much of a boost because the top 10 outside of Wisconsin, it's like all of these major brands that I think are overrated because teams just want them to be good. Auburn, LSU, USC, Clemson are your top 4. 6 through 10, Florida State, Texas A&M, Oregon, Oklahoma, Michigan. Like those are all your big brands that when they get reasonably good, voters, I think, just can't help but put them in the rankings or push them higher in the rankings. Wisconsin is kind of the odd man out in that conversation, I think.
Well, it's a lot of this too. So is this just in the era of the AP poll?
It's since 2014.
Okay,
so
since 2014.
the beginning of the college football playoff era.
Well, Wisconsin had some not so great teams under Paul Chryst that were still ranked in the AP poll. So I can reason with that. But outside of this, you got a lot of big brands, which does make sense. LSU is going to get the benefit of the doubt a lot of times. USC is going to get the benefit of the doubt a lot of times. Auburn got the benefit of the doubt last year.
Right.
And we see how that went.
Yeah. Everyone kind of thought, oh, they're going to be good this year. And it doesn't work out. So a lot of it's big brands. You look throughout the rest of the top 25, the usual suspects are in there. Alabama, Georgia, Penn State, Florida, Miami, Texas, Notre Dame.
Georgia
Ohio
under Mark
State.
Richt was definitely overrated.
That is
100%.
100% true that Georgia under Mark Richt, everybody thought it was like, oh, it's going to be their year this year.
I remember watching so yesterday, I kid you not, I had SEC Network on and they were airing the Georgia Auburn replay from 2013 with Nick Marshall, the tip pass to Ricardo Lewis.
Yeah. Is that the Prayer Jordan hair? What?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the kick 6 was 2 games after.
Yeah.
Georgia came in at 25th, and I think they had either 3 or 4 losses up to that point. That Auburn loss might have been their 4th loss, but I remember thinking to myself back then, how in the world is Georgia ranked at this point in time? It just seemed like the AP kept finding a way to rank them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of these teams that it's like the brand bias. If you're close, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt and get in there. And Georgia's one of them. Texas, Miami. B-Man says Notre Dame. Notre Dame is 21st on this list, which is actually much lower than I thought. I thought they would be in the top 10.
Higher. Yeah.
But there are some teams in here that surprised me a little bit. Like Stanford is 12th. Like the Stanford Cardinal, and this is all post Jim Harbaugh. So it's not like the Andrew Luck days where maybe they were getting pushed up in these conversations. They're 12th. That one surprised me. South Carolina surprised me a little bit. The Gamecocks at number 14. Because I don't view them as like a massive brand that people are going to overrate. And I'm sure there's some randomness in here just based on certain years where, like last year, South Carolina was way overrated by the AP poll.
What? When Vandy played them, they were
7, I think. Or maybe
I think
a little
they were
lower.
11. I think they were 11.
Yeah, you might be right. But yes, like last year made sense for South Carolina. They were massively overrated by
coming
the AP
off of that
poll.
9-3 season, just missing out on the playoff.
Right. And you just saw all the big names they had there with Sellers and Stewart and Harbor and who is that? Was it Faison?
Rasul Faison.
Rasul Faison, the running back. Like there was a lot of hype around South Carolina last year. Hey, Lenore Sellers, maybe all it takes is him not going to class for him to take another big step forward. Just working out at the driving range all offseason. That's all of his schoolwork this fall is just
I love it.
His internship at the driving range. I thought that was unreal. Like an internship I get. It's like, oh, just to graduate, I need to do my internship. Where are you interning? The driving range.
But hey, I actually like this from Lenore Sellers because it's shown that he's making easy 7 figures in college right now, and he still has an internship. Now, a lot of people think that, oh, no class, so it's just all football. Yeah, I mean, they're still asking a lot from him. I mean, he's not just playing golf all the time.
He's
got a lot of football duties
servicing
too.
The golfing range.
That's right.
The driving range for the golfers out there.
They were talking about this on Get Up this morning. Jordan Rogers, his last season at Vanderbilt, said he also had an internship and no classes.
Well, what was it? Carson Beck last year who was asked like during the playoff, they're like, how are you managing all of this with your schoolwork?
Yeah.
And he's like, I haven't gone to class in 2 years.
Well, and he was also in college for 17 years, but Lenore Sellers is a smart dude.
Right.
So he probably just graduated early.
Well, yeah, because he's 3 years in now.
Yeah.
Right.
Or this is his senior year.
I always wonder. So the rule is you have to be pursuing some sort of degree, right? Like I know there are basketball players that will graduate in December of the season. And then it's like, it's not like they have to keep going to class in January and beyond. They've already graduated, but they're still eligible. But you have to be pursuing a degree in some sort of way. So I guess this is Lenore Sellers. It's like the last thing I have to do is my internship at the driving range, and then I get my diploma.
Well, I know my senior year, I had an internship in communication, and that counted as credit towards classes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what this is.
Right. I don't know. But yeah, he's not going to class. It's football. And what's it called? The little like golf cart that you roll around the driving range to pick up balls, the collector. That's what Lenore Sellers like. Hey, sorry, I got to miss practice today.
How cool would it be to just you're out there playing golf, you see Lenore Sellers pull up on the golf cart next to you.
Yeah, you like hit a stinger that clangs off the collector out there, and you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry. It's just Lenore Sellers who's in the.
This is actually more common than people think because these quarterbacks are smart. You have to be. So a lot of them graduate early and just need something for their senior year.
I think a lot of college athletes have been able to knock out 4 years in 3. Like that's become a very common thing.
I was 3.5.
Whether it's to just be done with classes or it's to pursue a graduate degree, right? Because if you can get done in 3 years and then go pursue a graduate degree in your 4th year, that's great too. So you've seen that being more common. But yeah, Lenore Sellers out there interning at the golf course. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, interning at a golf course beats stealing crab legs. Yeah, there you go. Jameis Winston. That was his internship.
If he's, occupied with football in his internship, he can't be.
He can't be stealing crab legs.
He can't be stealing.
That's true. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, I also feel like Austin P is getting brand bias over Vandy. Yeah, that conversation was just.
Why are we still talking about this? And it's not going to happen.
I just love, I appreciate all our texters and callers. We get some really good discussion back and forth, but it always bothers me when there's just a ridiculous take and then the person who says it acts like I'm being crazy for pushing back on it.
Bruce Feldman's getting too much run.
That's what we got yesterday of and maybe he's listening now. The person who texted if Jared Curtis plays, Austin P will beat Vanderbilt. That was the exact wording of it. And that's a ridiculous take to have. if you want to say Austin Peay could beat Vanderbilt, I still think that's kind of crazy, but at least it's not like this definitive. If Curtis starts, Austin Peay's beating Vanderbilt, which is just absolutely insane. And then when I push back on it, it's like, it's not that crazy. On3 mentioned it as a possible upset. Sure, a possible upset. You're saying if Curtis starts, they will win. And it's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So that was the most overrated teams by the AP poll. There is also a list of the most underrated teams by the AP poll since 2014. So if you've thought your team is always not getting the benefit of the doubt and isn't given their props, you might be right. We'll let you know coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on your Thursday morning. Gonna get back into the Titans in the NFL coming up in about 15 minutes. Titans with a joint practice against Seattle tomorrow over at the practice facility, Vanderbilt Health Football Center. I did just see A.J. Brown is currently practicing against the Philadelphia Eagles in a joint practice.
Yeah, they were talking about that a little bit yesterday. Sal Palantonio actually asked him if he's spoken at all to Jalen Hurts, and he said no.
Wow.
Since the trade.
Yeah,
but he's spoken to some other teammates.
That relationship clearly is sour, but I did just see a clip in one-on-ones. A.J. Brown beating Quinyon Mitchell for a touchdown on a nice throw from Drake May. So it'll be interesting to see if there's some fireworks later on in that practice today with A.J. Brown facing off against his former team, where they did not exactly see eye to eye throughout the final few years of that relationship. We'll get back into the Titans coming up next, but we went through the top 25 most overrated teams by the AP poll since 2014. This is from Brett McMurphy of On3, but he also put out the top 25 most underrated teams. And there are a lot of teams that have plenty of fans in this area who, if you've ever had a gripe and said, man, the AP poll just doesn't respect us, the voters don't respect us, you might be right. Kentucky, 15th on this list. Vanderbilt, 23rd on this list. Memphis, 19th on this list. And just for 4312, out of all of the local teams around here, the most disrespected team, and I don't know if Louisville counts as local, but of the teams with fans who listen to this show, Louisville, number 12, the most disrespected team out of those four. So there you go. All of those teams have at least been underrated somehow by the AP poll over the last 10 years.
I like the Louisville one because Jeff Brom, the job that he's done in Louisville, he has to be, in my opinion, one of the top 5 most underrated coaches in the entire country. He's been getting transfer portal QBs the last 4 or 5 years and been basically making chicken salad out of you-know-what. Yep. So I like having Vanderbilt in there. There's a lot of brand bias because I feel like with Indiana this year being ranked 6th, if you were to strip the Indiana logo and stick an Alabama logo on top of it, that's a top 4 team.
Yeah.
And so there's still brand bias.
Indiana is number 2 on this list of most underrated teams by the AP poll since 2014. And I think you're right with Louisville. Like, this also includes the Lamar Jackson years too, where I think they were underrated among the top teams in that era. Now, they always kind of found a way to choke down the stretch to not be in the playoff conversation. But I remember one of the Lamar Jackson years, it was when it was Lamar versus Deshaun. So that was what, 2016?
Oh, yeah. Louisville got up to 3 in the poll.
Yeah.
People.
And they played Clemson one year, and it was just an all-time classic of a game with those two guys playing quarterback. So
yeah, ran out of bounds on 4th down.
Yeah.
Thought he was close.
I agree with this list of Louisville. There are a lot of group of 5 teams on here, which I think makes sense. Like Boise State is on here, Tulane, Cincinnati is now Power 5, or Power 4, but for a long time, they were kind of underrated as one of those elite teams outside of the power conferences. UCF is on here. I'm sure that dates back to the Scott Frost days where they claimed their national championship. Navy is on here. Army is on here. Western Michigan, Washington State. So a lot of smaller schools that maybe haven't gotten their props. But among the power teams that have been underrated, mentioned Indiana's too. Number 1 is BYU, which I guess I understand because they've been good for a long time and they're always kind of in the conversation, but they're never really pushed into that elite tier, right? And every year it's like if they lose a game, they're kind of removed from the playoff conversation. So I can see that with BYU being one of the more underrated teams.
And I think they're going to shock a lot of people this year because they basically return everybody outside of a couple players and their starting lineup, and they're all 27 years old because a lot of them have done the Mormon mission for 2 years out of high school and then come to college. So they're old in their experience.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Bronco Mendenhall was there before he went to UVA that they were an experienced team. He actually brought a decent amount of those players over to Virginia. That was the most competitive Virginia had been with the Hokies in a long time, was when Mendenhall was there.
And you remember how hard Penn State went after Kalani Sitake.
Right. If it wasn't
they wanted
for
him.
Crumble Cookies, he might be in Happy Valley right now.
Well, you know what? Crumble Cookie would keep me in Utah too.
Yeah, I mean, apparently they've got a lot of money there to keep Kalani Sitake in town.
It would not surprise me if BYU won the Big 12 this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm still leaning Tech, but it would not surprise me.
I agree with you. I think the gap is closer than a lot of people think. Those are your top 2 teams, and you bring back Bear Bachmeier. You've got talent on that roster. Sitake sticks around. I agree with you. I think BYU would be the other contender out of the Big 12. Northwestern at number 3 is also a little bit of a surprise here because Yeah, they've had their good years. Like Pat Fitzgerald, when he was there, they had some good years. You look back at when, Peter Skoronski came out of there. Northwestern, I guess I get it a little bit. You know what kind of surprises me, Parker, is that Iowa is in the top 5 here, because I feel like Iowa is one of those teams that is always kind of properly respected. They're always going to be in the rankings somewhere, but they're never in the elite tier because that's probably not where they belong. They're a team that's going to be hard for anybody to beat because of the style of football they play under Kirk Ferentz. But I also don't think that they're necessarily super underrated. They come in at number 4.
We know what Iowa is year in, year out. And that's why, like, Kirk Ferentz, you can bash Iowa football all you want. That's the model of consistency because he's done it, and he's the longest tenured coach in the Big Ten. And we know what their philosophy is: run the football, play good defense, not a lot of explosive plays down the field, but they've been able to win at a very high rate.
Yeah, I mean, and they're a team that I think those Big 10 superpowers never want to see on their schedule,
especially at Iowa at night.
Right.
You never want to have to go to Kinnick at night.
That was like when Jeff Brom was at Purdue. Like, I felt like Purdue was one of those teams where they were never going to be towards the top of that conversation in the Big Ten, but they were a team that you never wanted to face. That you just knew that if you saw them on the road at night, there was a chance you were going to get beat. I feel like Iowa is like that too, because of the style they play. Ohio State and Oregon and I guess Penn State in the past, maybe not as much anymore, but now Indiana, like those are the teams that you think that they're going to roll through a lot of their Big Ten schedule and only really run into trouble when they face each other. Iowa on the road is one of those games that I think you just don't want to see.
And last year, too, you remember Oregon going there and how just sloppy of a game it was. Sideways rain, muddy.
Knocker.
That favors everything about that game favors Iowa, and yet Oregon was still able to win. Iowa gave them everything they could handle, and it was actually leading for a good amount of the game. And then, too, they went to USC, and it was raining. Again, favors Iowa. And USC only won by 5.
Yeah.
So I was a tough. You get them in the rain, you get them in those types of conditions. They're a tough team.
Yeah.
Ohio State does go to Iowa this year.
Do they? Yeah.
Not sure if it's at night yet. The time hasn't been announced.
We've gotten onto an Iowa tilt here because Iowa is just one of those fascinating teams around college football because they do play the grind it out. We're going to beat you running the football a ton, and we're going to play defense, and we want to beat you 13-10. And it can work in the right circumstances. So yeah, they face Michigan on the road, Ohio State at home. That one is that it's already sold out. That's going to be a rocking atmosphere. Let's see. Do they get any other big games at home? Not really.
No, teams that they should beat, but they do have to go to Washington. Too.
So their first 3 Big Ten games are brutal: at Michigan, Ohio State at home, at Washington. But then
going to Minnesota's not easy either.
Yeah, PJ Fleck, row that boat. Minnesota's
row the boat, baby.
Not an easy game to win. But down the stretch, like Wisconsin at home, at Northwestern, Purdue at home, those should all be wins. You finish at Illinois and Nebraska at home, which those will be toss-ups, I think. Illinois maybe with a little bit of an edge over Iowa there. But there is a stretch there where Iowa could go on a little bit of a run.
There is, but that 3-game stretch, I went through Big Ten record predictions the other night, and I had Iowa at 8-4 just because it's hard for me to see them winning at Michigan, at Washington. I do think they'll lose to Ohio State, even though that's in Kinnick. And then the toss-up between, Nebraska. Nebraska could get them, or Illinois.
Yeah,
I had them going 8-4, which is around what they usually are every year.
Yeah, let me see.
8-4, 9-3. Some years they go 10-2. Like they made the Big Ten championship game against Michigan State when they had C.J. Beathard.
Yeah. Was that Beathard and Kittle played together, right?
Yeah, that was the year that Michigan State went to the college football playoff versus Alabama.
Right. Yes.
In 2015.
Yeah, I think it was the second year of the 14 playoff. I think they win the Cy-Hawk. Iowa State's going to be bad this year.
Iowa State is going to be horrible.
Yeah, Matt Campbell just
gutted that program.
Yeah, came home and there was no couch in the living room type of thing. I'm going to say they lose to Michigan, lose to Ohio State. I'm going to say lose to Washington. So 3-game losing streak there. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. 8-4. I think they lose at Illinois too, but I think they win the rest of them. I think they win at Minnesota. I think they're able to win that last game against Nebraska at home. So yeah, I'll go 8-4. Which can Iowa go anything but 8-4? I think that's kind of their thing.
You know, in this era, I think there's a general understanding that they don't have the resources to compete at the top of college football. But if you just want consistency, I mean, Kirk Ferentz has established that.
Yeah. Was Iowa in the Big Ten championship like 3 or 4 years ago? They played Michigan, I want to say.
Yes.
Was that the 2022?
Yes.
2021.
That's back when the Big Ten still had divisions.
Yeah.
So they won because the East was, or not the East, the West was so weak.
They got crushed though. It was like 35 or 42-3.
I mean, the best teams in the West were like Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois was in there.
Yeah.
And then you had everybody on the other side. You had Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State all on one side. And Michigan State back when they were good.
Yeah, Michigan won 42-3, and that was the year they lost in the playoff to TCU.
Yep.
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got 30 more minutes left with you on the show. Let's talk some Titans on the other side and some other NFL headlines. Titans and Seahawks joint practice tomorrow. If you want to join the conversation, you can text or call our phone and text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. 30 minutes left with you on this Thursday. Getting back into the Titans here. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Josh is called in wanting to talk Titans. Josh, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Jake, how we doing? Josh from Buffalo, currently residing in Nashville, transplant, one of the common folk here. Giving you a call from the beautiful Nashville International Airport, sitting in the castle. And I want to talk some advanced analytics. This league, I feel like, is so data-driven at this point, and I don't think we could leave anything out of the realm of possibility to take into account as we're judging quarterbacks. Heard you earlier in the show talking about how it lives and dies with Cam Ward, so I think this is a fitting topic, and want to get your take on a sabermetric I've been marinating on. So want to see your thoughts on using NFL representation in airports as a barometer of franchise quarterback legitimacy. We're going to use the Bills as a case study here. You look back at the early 2000s, we've got guys like EJ Manuel suiting up for us at quarterback, guys that were just never going to be the guy. And, it was spotty here and there. You might have an occasional charging buffalo in an airport when you see a fan. You might get a week go Bills as you walk by, but it's nothing like it was today. And you fast forward to us drafting the guy, Josh Allen, he's a early on, some of the teams were okay. Some of the teams weren't great, but people started to believe, and next thing you know, you've got Frank from Cheektowaga gearing up head to toe in Zubaz print, gear, like he's going into battle as he heads into Chicago Midway. So, today, as it stands, I'm sitting here reporting live from the castle in BNA. I don't see a lick of Titans gear in here. So time will tell. Time will tell if Cam's the guy. And like you said, it lives and dies with Cam. So curious to hear your thoughts on if we can really use this as a good representation of, franchise quarterback legitimacy, what we see in airports. Thanks. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you for the call, Josh.
That was science right there.
There were a lot of ways I thought that call was going to go when he talked about analytics and sabermetrics. That was not the direction I thought it was going to head after that. But I guess he makes an okay point, right? Of when the franchise, the fan base is bought in of, I don't even really know how to respond to this. When the fan base is bought in, yeah, you're going to see more gear out there. You're going to see the Cam Ward jerseys everywhere. And I guess with Josh being from Buffalo, he's used to seeing the Josh Allen jerseys everywhere. Do we know? Maybe that was Josh Allen.
Could have been. Maybe. You never know who's in the airport.
I have no idea, but apparently he's over at the castle looking for Titans gear. We might have to have him report back to one of the other shows later on today and let us know throughout his time at the airport how many Titans pieces of apparel that he saw.
When I'm outside of the state, I don't see really any Titans fans. So, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that either. But that's great science.
It took me a while after moving here to realize that it's not a novelty to see Titans fans out, because when I was growing up, I was probably the only Titans fan within 100 miles of my house. And it's like, if I saw somebody in a Titans jersey, it was like the craziest thing ever. It took me a little bit to realize, like, oh, I'm in Nashville now. Everybody's going to be wearing Titan stuff, but great call.
That's changed though with everybody moving here, because you got
there's already a ton of businesses who are already marketing a Philly takeover for week 2. It's going to be, I will be shocked if you can't hear Fly Eagles Fly chants in pregame.
There's a spot that I frequent that is Philly themed. I will not give them a shout out because they've not paid to be on the show, but I know that place is going to be full Philly mode.
Yeah, I mean, that I know at least 2 or 3 places that I think do Philly like watch parties and stuff like that. And you're going to get all the out-of-towners in here. It's going to be crazy.
And my biggest fear is that final regular season home game against the Steelers. If the Titans are bad, what that stadium's going to look like. I'm so nervous.
Yeah, it's
and also too, what happens to the fan base if the Titans throw up a 4-13 or a 5 even a 5-12?
That's why we were going through the long-term plans for this team. This year is so important because you're asking the fan base to pay a lot of money to be in that new stadium. And if you're not putting a winner on the field, it's I think you're going to see a lot of fans who say, is it worth it? And I think no might end up being the answer. Josh has texted in and he says, forgot to mention when rolling out of bed and heading to BNA, I subconsciously put on my Josh Allen 17 road white and didn't even realize it. So I guess that's what Buffalo fans do is they just wind up in their Bills jerseys randomly. Nevada Josh, the Joshes are sticking together here. Nevada Josh says that's a good point. How is there not any Titan stuff at the Nashville airport? I see more Vols stuff in the mall than I do Titan stuff. Nevada Josh is on board with these sabermetrics of you can tell how good a quarterback in a franchise is by how many jerseys you see in the airport.
I'm going to be honest, just walking downtown or out and about, I don't see that many Cam Ward jerseys. Compared to if I was in Chicago, you see Caleb Williams stuff plastered everywhere.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, I'm sure, is the same in Buffalo.
Cam Ward has not become he is a household name. Like everybody around here, I think, knows that Cam Ward is the quarterback of the Titans. But I wouldn't say he's one of those guys that you fully view as the face of the franchise, right? Like, remember last year, midway through the year, when Patriots fans just like became obsessed with Drake May, and they still are. It was like the Drake May thing that they were putting all over Twitter. People probably did not understand what I meant by that at all, but it was like one of their jokes. They were obsessed with Drake May. We're definitely not to that point yet. I think Cam Ward is one good season away from possibly entering that territory, but you got to go win. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, is it proper I despise the last caller from Buffalo while liking him as well? That was a witch. That was Harry Potter or Voldemort. Josh getting some...
We can't hate Josh from Buffalo.
Josh getting some very mixed opinions on the text line.
I'm assuming based off the call that he is a Buffalo fan. I have a lot of respect for Bills Mafia. One of the items on my bucket list is to jump off a table or to jump off
onto a folding table.
Yeah, and break the table with Bills Mafia.
Would you do the one guy who takes the ketchup and mustard to the face before every game?
No, I just want to jump through the table with Bills Mafia.
Yeah. I mean,
just to experience
we can reach out to Josh. Maybe he can.
I'm sure it's an out-of-body experience.
Maybe he can come by the station and we can do a post-show table jump.
Or
you have to do it in Buffalo? I
want to do it in Buffalo.
Okay.
Maybe if the Titans are playing in Buffalo one year. Maybe.
The Bills come here next year. Maybe we could find a Bills tailgate and do it here. I mean, it wouldn't be the same as in Buffalo.
Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed.
Josh has gotten us off the rails completely here. 4312 says, I see more UT and Vandy jerseys out and around Nashville. Caleb says simple economics, Vols stuff sells. I mean, it just depends on how good the team is, right? Like I bet 5 years ago, if you were in the Nashville airport or you were walking around Nashville, you would have seen a ton of Derrick Henry jerseys everywhere. You had a face of the franchise of a team that was winning consistently. Right now, yeah, Jeff Simmons is probably the face of your franchise, but you are really, really, really bad. I mean, Matthew in Nashville on Twitter tagged me and both the Joes earlier today, and Robbie and Rexroad talked about it, that Scotty Scheffler has 2 more wins since February of 2022 than the Titans do.
Yeah.
I looked it up a few weeks ago, actually, because I was bored and just wanted to figure it out. So since I moved to Nashville, the Titans are 14-47. I wrote this down in my notes. The 61 games before that, they were 39-22. There's a chance it's just me, right?
Well, wasn't there this thing too? Like every time you go to a Preds game, they'd lose.
That's over now. That's over now. I've broken that curse.
What's your record though? What's the overall record?
I think they've won the last 2 games I've been to. I couldn't tell you the overall record, but I know that the curse is over. But I will say it might be me on the Titans because, again, they were 39-22 in the 61 games before I moved to Nashville. They're 14-47 since.
Maybe just sit out of a couple games this year and just let's see what happens. Let's test this theory out.
Maybe I just need to leave the city limits of Nashville for a little bit here.
Okay, that week that you have your fall wedding, what?
That's here though. Yeah, so it won't help. No, but I have traveled though. Like I've been a lot of times late in the season. I'm traveling with Vandy, so it's like
okay.
I've been outside for games and they still suck.
We got to keep track.
Yeah,
we got to keep a record tracker. When Jake is out of town, do the Titans win or do they lose?
I've been to a couple of wins over the last few years. I was at the Patriots win 2 years ago, the one in overtime. I was at the Panthers win 3 years ago.
The one where I forgot who was on the broadcast said, man, you got to love football if you're watching this one today.
Yeah, it was really bad. I was at the Falcons one where Levis threw 4 touchdowns. So like of the games they've won since I've moved here, I've actually been to plenty of them. It's just, they haven't won a lot of other ones. All right, Josh is losing me on this last text. He says Titans and Texans need to play for the right to wear the Oilers jersey. Absolutely not.
That's where we stop.
Yeah, Josh.
That's where we put a pin in the conversation.
We were entertaining your takes for a little bit there.
You literally stole the segment, Josh, and you just ended it for us. Thank you.
You've taken 12 minutes from us and not a second more because that's not true. The Titans own the Oilers' history. They will not be giving it back. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll talk actual Titans football coming up next and talk about what they would do, what they might do on the field tomorrow in a joint practice against the Seahawks. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 125 The Game. Finishing up the show on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Our caller, Josh from Buffalo, hijacked the last segment, but he did send a picture. He found one Cam Ward jersey in the airport.
So we are putting it on the board.
It's on the board. There's at least one. And according to Josh, that means Cam Ward has a better chance of becoming a franchise quarterback. So there you go. Anyway, let's talk actual football. Titans and Seahawks joint practice tomorrow. Preseason game number 2 on Sunday at Nissan Stadium. First thing that I'm looking for tomorrow, will Carnell Tate be out on the field? He missed yesterday's practice. Robert Saleh said it was some back stiffness that he was dealing with. I'd really like to see Carnell Tate out there. I think the more opportunities he gets to go against high-level cornerbacks and just different players and get to showcase what he can do, work on different moves, releases, all that, work on the route tree. I think it's all important, and I think this would be a tough practice to miss if he doesn't get a chance to go up against the Seahawks tomorrow.
It will be. And, Devin Witherspoon just got that contract extension, $100 million guaranteed. So he'll have some great opportunities. Plus they just signed, Trayvon Diggs.
Yes, they did.
So they're trying to establish some corner depth, some depth in the secondary. They also signed Terrion Arnold, but he's on the NFL commissioner's exempt list. Yep. So that's probably a long process for him to get back. But their secondary is not as good as it was last year. They lost some pieces.
Yeah, you lost Rick Woolen.
Kobe Bryant went to the Bears. Actually, is probably done for the regular season.
Yep.
But it'll still be a good test.
Yeah, Witherspoon is the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. So obviously he's going to be very good, and you're going to see that matchup with Carnell Tate if he's out there, I'm sure. But yeah, I agree with you. The depth at cornerback is not quite as good as it was last year. I still have not caught up on Hard Knocks from Tuesday. But did John Schneider really say that they would have cut Terrion Arnold if they were in the Lions situation too?
Yes.
But then they're like, hey, we'll sign him anyway. Why not?
The way they put it is if he was a member of their team when all that stuff went down just because of outside pressure, they probably would have had to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand why you would sign him and just see, because there is clearly talent there. Former first-round pick, maybe hasn't lived up to the expectation so far, but like worth it on a low-risk, high-reward contract. But I struggle to see him making it out on the field with everything that's gone on with that situation. The other matchup I think is going to be really crucial. The wide receivers for Seattle against the Titans DBs. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Cordell Flott coming off a rough week out there against the 49ers. He got by DeJon Stribling multiple times in that preseason game last Thursday. The competition goes up a notch here. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba. You've got Rashid Shaheed. You've got Cooper Kupp out there. You need to see this secondary at least look more competitive than they did last week, when the reports out of the joint practice were that Brock Purdy just carved them up all day on Tuesday, and then you let the backup to the backup, Curtis Rourke, carve up your secondary on Thursday. You need to see a better day from the Titans secondary against I would say a better receiving group, given that there were a lot of injuries going on for the 49ers last week.
Yeah, this is going to be a better receiving room. I mean, even if San Francisco was at full health, they don't have Jackson Smith and Jigba. So this is going to be a better receiving core that they're going to have to face, which will, be like, okay, you didn't look good last week versus a less than receiving core. Now you get an even stronger one. So you're either forced to respond or you look about the same.
Right.
Really no in between, no gray area.
The secondary has been one of the big concerns throughout the last week since the preseason game against San Francisco. And I think this is a real opportunity to kind of calm down the nerves a little bit about that group. But it's also a chance that things could spiral even worse, because you've got the best receiver in the league, maybe, in Jackson Smith and Jigba on the other side, a speed threat in Rashid Shaheed, one of the craftier veteran receivers in Cooper Kupp. It's not going to be an easy matchup for this secondary tomorrow.
And they still have, Shaheed, you mentioned Cooper Kupp. Torrey Horton, I thought was pretty good for them as a rookie last year. And the guy that they've been featuring on Hard Knocks is Montorie Foster, who was he had a hamstring deal, so he was out pretty much all of last year as a rookie. But has really turned heads in training camp.
Yeah.
So there's depth here. Be a great test for him.
Yes. Secondary going to be tested. Of course, Cam Ward and how he plays is going to be under the microscope tomorrow. Part of that goes into the offensive line too. Seahawks have a very talented defensive line. It starts with Leonard Williams in the middle. I mean, kind of similar to what you see day in and day out from the Titans. You got Leonard Williams as that star, but you've also got a lot of depth. Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence retiring after this year, but still a very talented player. You got Dante Fowler. You've got Derek Hall. There's a lot of depth at pass rush, and I'm interested to see, after a couple of tough days for the offensive line this week, how do they do against this group for Seattle that was part of the engine that led them to winning the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fantastic test. I love Robert Saleh's approach to this, and I've also heard Tom Brady talk about, there were times where he played till the third quarter in preseason games just because it's another opportunity to play football. With the amount of injuries that we're seeing in the NFL preseason this year, which is just an absurd number, I think it just goes to show that there's really no way to bubble wrap these guys, because if they're not playing football and you start hitting, you start tackling, they're going to get hurt if they haven't been doing that all offseason.
Right. And I think tomorrow you hope there's less pushing and shoving than there was in San Francisco, but
the fiery bunch over there in Seattle.
Yeah, you need to get a lot of work in tomorrow.
Mike McDonald's not letting them get complacent after winning a Super Bowl last year. Just not letting it happen.
Right. I mean, I feel like you have to coach them even harder to get the same result out of them after winning the Super Bowl.
It's harder being the chasee versus the chaser.
Right. The hunted versus the hunter.
Yes.
And that makes it difficult. So I think you're going to see some fireworks tomorrow. You hope it's limited. You hope they can get good work in, because as we've talked about this week, Titans going to play the starters. Robert Saleh said 25 to 30 snaps in that game on Sunday at Nissan Stadium. I'm going to make the assumption that Mike McDonald isn't going to put the starters out there very much.
Yeah, they didn't play in that first game versus the Cowboys, so I have no idea.
I wonder if you'll see them for a drive, but I highly doubt you're going to see Jackson Smith and Jigba and Leonard Williams playing,
or Devin Witherspoon
playing a full quarter or anything like that.
Yeah.
So tomorrow is the opportunity to get the good work, ones-on-ones in the joint practice. It starts at 10:15 tomorrow. We will be live out there. I will not be there, but 9 a.m. The show will be live at the Titans joint practice with the Seahawks. Excited for that. And then on Sunday, preseason game number 2. Cam Ward, this is a big weekend for him. Again, the development, you want to see it continue to grow, but you also want to see, you also understand that it's just another step in the journey here. You need to see him look a little bit better this week, especially if he's facing the Seahawks backups.
Yeah, and they still have depth. It's still, as long as Mike McDonald's coaching, they're going to be good on defense, and they're going to be disciplined.
And it's what we've talked about all offseason. These are 3 good tests in the preseason for the Titans to try and improve. San Francisco last week, Seattle, the next team in town, starting tomorrow with the joint practice. That wraps things up for us. Appreciate everybody who chimed in today. I will talk to you on Monday, but back live 9 a.m. tomorrow. Titans training camp joint practice with the Seahawks. Chase and McJoe are coming up next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.